like I said, I found that video. I run across that video purely by accident. It was actually on a. It's become more and more popular. Uh, an app called TikTok where they play a lot of videos and stuff like that. And there's a lot of Christian videos and a lot of Christian artists and stuff that display stuff like this. Well, I run across it by accident because a guy was doing. You can do voiceovers to characters and songs and movie skits and stuff like that. Well, I run across that one, like I said, purely by accident, and it really caught my attention. But the videos, the voiceovers that you do are only just, I think, about 30 seconds long, roughly. Well, I watched that for 30 seconds, and I watched it again and again and again. And after I watched it 4 or 5 times, I'm like, I've got to see who. And on the bottom, it tells who actually sings it. So I looked up the video on YouTube and watched it. Well, needless to say, I didn't sleep much that night because every time I tried to sleep or try to close my eyes, the song started playing in my head again. So for me, it was just a shot in the arm because, and everybody runs across instances or accidents or something where if you look at it, and even by some doctors' points of view, you shouldn't be here. I mean, you shouldn't be here, regardless of what the diagnosis is. You shouldn't be here. You know, by and like I said in the last sermon I spoke up here, I was in a real bad car accident, and it messed up my left rotator cuff. I broke my hip in two places, and had massive head trauma. And in a joking manner, my parents were like, well, "You got to prove there's even anything in there to damage first." But in all seriousness, the doctor said there's, he may not make it in the morning. I shouldn't be here, and I'm thankful for the miracles that he does, that he works. And that video, like I said right there, was just like a shot of steroids or adrenaline or something like that. I didn't sleep that night. I got up, walking through the house, walked through the kitchen and stuff, and Tracy's like, "What are you doing?" I can't sleep now. I can't sleep. And I sent the video to Billy, and Billy watched it, and even Billy agreed. That's just amazing because to so many people, just watching that video is just like a shot in the arm. It really wakes you up and appreciate the way that God speaks to you and touches you and the miracles He's done in His life. I want to speak tonight about. I'm going to try and stick to my notes, and I'm apparently I've been told that this is hereditary, and some of you may know this. I've got notes to follow, but again, following them is just like, swatting flies. Just, you know, trying to stay focused is a challenge I have. My wife deals with it daily. Hey, look at me, look at me. Hey, Jason, focus right here. Oh, both eyes. Oh, there you go. Focus and stuff. I just attention span of a gnat. Okay, I want to speak about greatness. In today's society and over the last few years, you hear the people when they're describing somebody famous, a sports figure, their quote unquote hero or whatever, they refer to them as the GOAT, which is an acronym, greatest of all time. I've got a couple written down here. Michael Jordan, he's the GOAT. In my opinion, greatest basketball player to ever play the game, to ever grace the court. Now, there's been other good ones, but that's just my personal favorite. Tiger Woods, great golfer. Dale Earnhardt, greatest NASCAR driver, along with Richard Petty, dubbed the king of NASCAR. Nolan Ryan, one of the greatest pitchers to ever play the game. Muhammad Ali, who proclaimed himself, "I am the greatest." That was one of his big deals. But it all depends on how you define greatness. Like the video we just seen was an excellent video. Portrays the greatness of what God's capable of doing. You see cancer disappear. Plates, pins, and rods disappear, gone, with no rhyme or reason. Doctors can't explain it. And that's something that I've joked with people about before. Before my pancreas and kidney transplant, it was my goal. It started out as a joke, but it drastically became serious. If I could walk into my doctor's office who specializes in diabetes and stuff like that, and diabetes control and care and stuff like that, and could guide me and give me recommendations on diet and stuff like that to maintain a good, healthy blood sugar, if I could walk into that specialist's office and have them scratching their head as I walk out, I've scored. I won. That's an accomplishment to me. Because if I can stump a specialist, I got stuff wrong with me, which goes without saying. But anyway, and I did. The specialist would, and these are highly trained specialists that specialize in the pancreas and how it works and how it provides insulin and stuff so your body could digest and process food regularly or like it should, like it's supposed to. I had them stumped. They said, well, you got to eat this and this and this, at the right times, at the right intervals. Hydration's key and stuff like that. Okay, fine. So I go home and would follow that, and they'd call me in 3 days and let me know how it goes. Okay. Blood sugar would be 300 or 400, really high, and call them. Okay, how did day one go? Day one, woke up, blood sugar's 300. So I ate very little, took a little extra insulin to bring it down, tried to get it down. I get it down to about, in the 140, 150, in that ballpark, which is still a little high, but better, about half of what it was. And to keep it on that level plane, it was so tragic, it was so drastic, it was at the point where if I even thought about food, my blood sugar would just start, would just take off, go just unbelievably high. And I was snacking on stuff like maybe a cracker or maybe a small amount of milk in a glass would just make it just skyrocket. And I was taking my insulin shots that they prescribed and everything at the amounts they prescribed. And they would call me, well, up it just a little more and a little more, and I would make the adjustments as called for. And it would just drop out. My blood sugar would be down in the 30s and 40s and stuff like that. And it was just so hectic. And the doctors were puzzled. I can't explain this. I don't know. I'm like, and I'll eat the same thing or 2 or 3 days at a time for those 3 days that I'm supposed to call them back and eat it the exact same thing. And it would just be chaotic at best. I mean, it was just like, and again, it's a joke, but a squirrel in traffic, just all over the place. I mean, it was, what was the term? I think the term they called was idiopathic, because there's no rhyme or reason for it. They're having trouble adjusting to this. They're having trouble adjusting me to this. Well, anyway, the random blood sugar spikes and stuff like that ultimately led to dialysis. I did a little over 2 years of dialysis, at the end of which was when I got the transplant. I got a new kidney, a new pancreas, which I'm so thankful for. But that, to me, God working stuff like that for people, that's greatness. I mean, you can name the greatest, the greatest sports hero, the greatest sports journalist, the greatest race car driver, the greatest whatever. That's how the world defines greatness, by your status, by how much money you've got, by what kind of car you drive. That's how the world defines greatness. As Christians, instances like that video, that's greatness. Somebody that goes in and has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And the reason why they stop at stage 4 is because there is no stage 5. None. If that stage 4 cancer cell just magically and without rhyme or reason just disappears, and the doctors are scratching their head and like, where'd it go? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. The same God that was there talking about in that video, the same God that made sure that we're still alive, we're still here, is the same God that removed that cancer cell. Wiped it clean, like it doesn't even look like it was ever there. It was gone. That's the same God that created the earth, that created everything. By the way, I want to throw this out there. I heard this said and it made perfect sense. When you wake up in the morning, it's because God is not done with you yet. Bar none, he's not done with you yet. He's got a purpose, he's got a rhyme, and he's got a reason for you to be here. My wife, as loving as she is, And it's usually when I'm annoying her, and I do it for lack of a better term. Well, I wouldn't say purposely. I almost said religiously, but it's not. I make it a game. I make it a habit. The other day it was cool outside, and we were out there washing cars and stuff, and I got my little soap and sponge on a stick, and I'm wiping the cars down and stuff. And she was complaining about being cold, but she's out there in her folding chair. She's sitting, about this far away. I'm washing the car off, and I'm rinsing it off, rinsing all the soap off of it. She's sitting over there, of course, like most people are, on the phone, texting, messaging, whatever, texting away. Put a couple spurts out there in the air. The phone, I don't know where the phone went. I don't know where it landed. I've never seen anybody, and she's got bad knees, and I probably shouldn't have done it. She's got bad knees and a bad back, she's got arthritis. But I've never seen an arthritic person move so fast. I don't remember anything after that. The neighbors, I'm pretty sure, were getting a pretty good laugh about it. I'm so far off my notes here, it's not even funny. Jeremiah 10:6 is a scripture I have. Lord, there is no one like you, for you are great and your name is full of power. The same power that Jesus, being the Son of God, drew Lazarus from the grave. He'd been in the grave 4 days, which was a miracle to everybody standing around. Well, because everybody knew Lazarus is dead. Lazarus comes walking out of there, and my only thought is, I try to find the humor in everything. I'm a bit of a cut up. Forgive the crudity of this. Forgive me for this because I'm going way out there. But just to imagine witnessing this. Lazarus is coming forth out of this tomb, and you could hear all the gasp, the complete shock and awe. My thought is, good Lord, what stink? I mean, put the stone back over it or something, wrap him back up. But just the greatness in that moment of Lazarus stepping forth and stepping out of that tomb, and everybody thinks this is crazy. Oh, Jesus is going to pull another miracle. What do you got this time? And he steps up there, calls Lazarus out. Lazarus steps out to everybody's bewilderedness. That's greatness. The same greatness which is really hard for a lot of people to imagine. But the same greatness that spoke the world into existence. That told the oceans where to stop. So we've got this land. The same voice that spoke and parted the Red Sea for Moses and the Israelites to part the Red Sea, to cross on dry land, like the water had never been there. Parts this Red Sea, walls of water on either side. They cross the Red Sea, they get to the other side, God closes the sea. Which today, I didn't find this out today, but in today's times, recently, they have found proof that actually happened because there's so many skeptics. Oh, that'll never happen, that never happened, blah, 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 trying to shoot it down. They have found horse bones and the actual wheels and axles from the chariots that the Egyptians were using to chase down the Israelites. They found them in the exact spot as was mentioned in the Bible, in that exact spot. Now tell me how you can deny this. I mean, because there's so many skeptics out there and so many people that are actually looking for a reason. People actually make it their mission. And why? Forgive the expression, forgive me for the term, but not a leg to stand on. I mean, really. If you're going to deny that they've actually found stuff that happened in the Bible that is actually still there to this day, the ark, Noah's ark, they found it. The actual remnants of it, where it actually set, everything. Oh, that's just a weird shaped hole in the ground. It's nothing really. So the skeptics, they've actually got photographic proof of it. The people have found it. They found remnants of it. They found the metal nails and rods in the exact place where this is. People look for a reason to doubt and discredit this stuff. But the problem is they don't see the greatness that we have, the greatness that we serve, the same greatness that keeps us alive every day, that wakes us up every morning, and sometimes doesn't let us sleep. I mean, just being honest, some nights I don't sleep, especially the night I watch that video. Pace the house, pace the house, pace the house. I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't get it out of my head. And every time I lay down, it starts playing again. Some people call it ADD. The world would call it ADD. Call it what you will. I call stuff like that divine intervention. That's just my belief. That's my stance on it. My notes were so completely pointless. There's so many people, like I said, there's so many people doubting the existence of any of this stuff ever happened, that grave robbers went in and robbed the tomb and stole the body and stuff like that. If you're going to take the time to steal a body, why would you leave the linens and stuff that it's wrapped in? I mean, it's not like, oh, we can steal this body. We're gonna steal this. We're gonna take our time about it. It's like stealing a car. You're in your house asleep, and somebody's gonna steal the car. Virgil, they're gonna steal your truck. They're gonna break into your truck in the middle of the night while you're sound asleep, with the truck on the other side of the wall, fired up. Oh, take your time. Take your time. We're in no hurry. He can't hear nothing anyway. Just fire that dude up. You know what? Give it a couple good revs. Hit the horn a few times. Bam, 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 bam. And then we'll just take off. You don't. If somebody's going to steal something, you take everything that's associated with it. You're not going to take the time to unwrap a body and leave the linens there and take just the body. You don't do that. But again, there's so much negativity in this world that they look for anything to discredit the very things and the very foundation of what we believe. And we've got all the proof in the world, and they don't have a leg to stand on, because there's not. I've had so many people. I had he's an ex-father-in-law, tell me that he didn't believe in it. Just a bunch of bull. Just baloney, just hogwash, just wives' tales, just whatever. Really? Let's talk about Genesis. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. He would purposely get up, leave the room. Wait a minute, you got to hear this. No, I don't have to hear it. Jump in the car, just take off. Now and that was, oh wow, it's been 12, 15 years ago. I've seen him one time since, avoided me like the plague. Wouldn't have nothing to do with it, nothing to do with me. And that's, again, God gives us our own free will. He don't force himself on anybody. He never has, he never will. He never forces himself on anybody. All you've got to do is ask. And if you think about it, prayer, cell phones, they're great when they work. You pick them up, dial the number, and you're calling. Now, all the cell phones, the later model cell phones, are all voice activated. Hands-free, they call it. Okay, cool. You still got to push a button at some point. But the greatest communication ever on earth, ever, is all hands-free. Hands-free. This was the original hands-free communication. It wasn't a touch a button on a phone for It's never been like that. You never had to go through a computer or a machine or anybody else to talk directly to God. again, that parts the Red Seas, that spoke the world into existence, that heals stuff and removes things like cancer, like tumors, that makes the lame to walk, the blind to see. I've had, and this is just this more of a, again, I'm straying away from my notes, but it's kind of a testimonial type thing. I've had several eye surgeries on my eyes due to the diabetes and stuff and the blood sugar spikes and stuff. It made vision very difficult. My right eye suffered from retinal detachment. So I go in, had several appointments. The doctor scheduled surgery, says, come back in. Had to be there at 5 in the morning in Wichita, which means we had to leave Galena at like 2:30. Drive to Wichita, get there, check in. They go in and they reattach my retina, put it up. It's close to where you could get it to original. He says this is really kind of an iffy surgery. He says, we're kind of rolling the dice on this one. He says, you might be able to see, you might not be able to see. So he went ahead and put it up there. Thank God I can see out of it. Now, it's not 20/20 by any means. You know, the retina on the back of your eye is supposed to be flat, kind of like a mirror would see things. Well, mine's not exactly flat. It's got kind of a ripple to it, which is funny because if I look at something straight like a microphone stand, you know, straight up and down. You ever seen a microphone stand curl? You know, kind of like this. That's kind of what I see out of my right eye. Now, my left eye, I got 20/20 out of it, which is funny because my wife had her eyes tested this week. She's 20/20 in the right eye and has a cataract in the left. So she's kind of opposite what I am, which is great for me because I love to drive. All right, sweetie, you cover the right side. You cover the passenger side. I got the driver's side. We're good. So the only things you can't read is maps and GPS. Now, forget that. But anyway, so they did several injections and stuff, and I had fun with this too, because when the doctor was doing the injections, they put injections directly in your eye, which really is a freaky deal if you think about it. Because most people are like, I hate getting a bug in my eye. There is no way you're putting a needle in my eye. And they had to talk me into it. Because the doctor says, all right, we're going to give you injections to help with the eye. I'm like, hey, you know, let's get her done. You know, I'm rolling up my sleeves like, and the doctor's like, no, we're going to give you injections in your eye. All right, I'm out. And Dad was there with me. He's like, no, just sit down and listen to him. I'm like, no, anything going in the eye, no. Visine drops, that's it. You know, get something in your eye, you wipe it out, done. No, we're going to put injections in your eye. Dad's like, no, just hear the doctor out. So the doctor goes through a spiel, finally talks me into it. Nurse comes in with a tray, got a couple of little, they're like the little insulin syringes type deals. She's got them there in the little vial of meds and stuff. I'm like, I've got a death grip on the arms of this doctor's chair. I'm pretty sure the indentures are still there to this day. And this has been years ago. Man, I'm white knuckling that chair. And the doctor's like, relax, we'll numb you up. You're not going to feel a thing. So they drop some drops in my eye and numb it. I've never had a numb eyeball before. Even that itself was like, wow, this is cool. Mind you, Dad's there with me. And Dad, through his ministry, has been through people with some of the most traumatic times of their lives. You know, births, deaths, severe car accidents, seen, amputations and stuff like that. And he's seen a lot of wild and gross stuff. But to hear my dad sitting just a few feet away when they stuck that needle in my eye, of course I couldn't feel it. I could see it, but I couldn't feel it. They stuck that needle in my eye and put the medication in there, right? I couldn't feel it. And I'm like, man, that's wild. To me, all I could see was it was kind of like an oil and water mix type deal. But it was just the medication mixing with the fluid that was already in my eye. But anyway, to hear my dad just a few feet away go, oh. And I did. I kind of chuckled. It's like, what's, he goes, I'll tell you later. Well, the doctor leaves. The doctor says, I'll be back in a minute to check on you. So the doctor takes off, and I was like, so what now? I'm trying to keep from giggling. I'm like, what is, He goes, son. He goes, and he said the same thing. He says, I've seen a lot of traumatic stuff in my life, and I've prayed with people on their deathbed, and I've prayed for young ones as they're born. I've prayed for people that have lost limbs and stuff, or lost even loved ones in car accidents. He says, But that by far is one of the grossest things I've ever seen. I took it as a compliment. I'm like, wow, really? He's like, no, dude. He says, you don't understand. He goes, it's like having a water balloon and then trying to inject more water into it. He says, your eyes stay perfectly round except for the spot where they hit that, injected that stuff. And it was like your eye went out to the side of your head. He goes, dude, that's gross. And I was like, wow, that's cool. But it's through experiences like that that God teaches us that even though it's not us physically healing it, He has the ability and the people lined up to take care of us. Appointed people, He has appointed people to take care of us, to minister to us, to help us through our times of need. It's not the doctor's strategy. It's not what the doctors don't understand. What they don't know is, and they may not understand, is they are part of a greater plan commissioned by God's hand to put us there in our time of need. When I did my little over 2 years of dialysis, I was like 26 months or something like that, was at which time I met my wife. She's my dialysis nurse. See, I got the scars to prove it. She scarred me. Still scars me to this day. I don't know. I'm not going to want to remember that later either. But anyway, that's how we originally met, and she still takes care of me to this day. When she knocked me out the other day, she prayed the water on me, brought me back to. Everything's good. No, that really didn't happen. I did squirt her with a hose, and I did get an earful about it. But no, my wife is awesome. She's one of my greatest blessings that God could have given me. She puts up with a lot. She puts up with this. And why she's still around, honestly, I don't know. And a lot of it's just me. It's how I was wired. Even my parents, which I know they're listening right now, Mom and Dad. You'll be shaking your head now, too. I know you're listening. But not because I know they are, it's because they told me they were. But anyway, it's so funny for me. Like the last sermon I preached, they were sitting up here. They were sitting up here in front row. And I love getting this response, because this is a response I get. Mom, Dad's sitting there, and he's all proud. He's getting ready to crack open his Bible. And Mom's sitting right beside him, and she's like, dear Lord, Randy, they're giving him a microphone and the pulpit. Oh, heaven help us. We don't know where this is going to go, which I have so much fun with. And my parents, I could not have asked. I couldn't have prayed for better parents. And if you ask a teenager, don't ever do it. Don't ever ask a teenager, because teenagers all go through that age. Are like, oh, my parents were such a drag. I never went through that. I never went through that. But the blessings that God has for us, you can never count. You can never count ever. There's more blessings that God's given people than there are stars in the sky. I honestly believe that. In fact, it's a fact. There's times that He's blessed me that I don't even know about. And I'm sure that there's times that He's reached down and touched and blessed each and every one of you didn't even know about. But His blessings are far, and it's unfathomable. And my notes are completely pointless. The sermon title is supposed to be greatness. And the question I really have is, what do you define as greatness? As I stated before, greatness in the world's eyes is the car you drive, how much money you make, how much money you've got in the bank, who you associate with, who do you hang out with, what do you do in your spare time, what are your hobbies? That's how the world sees things, because they look more outward. And some people, because of that, some people are even afraid to break the doorplanes of churches. Because in so many, and I don't want to put this wrong, so forgive me if I am. For a long time period, people would not come through the doors of church like, well, I got tattoos. And what about tattoos? Well, I've got some that are indecent. Hey, everybody's got a past. Everybody's got a past that they're not proud of, whether it be tattoos or whether it be piercing. Hey, by the way, as far as piercings, I got nothing against piercings. Let me tell you why I don't have anything against piercings, or why nobody should have anything against piercings, and this is just my opinion. Why nobody should have anything against piercings? Because body piercing saved my life. Body piercing has saved everybody's life in here. His was unwilling. His was a divine plan. Jesus' body piercing was a divine plan, part of a divine plan. The most divine plan ever devised. The greatest story ever told. In fact, I don't even like when they call it the greatest story ever told. It's factual. But the world, again, calls it a story because they're looking for a way to denounce it, to make it less meaningful, less important. So what, and that's what I'm trying to circle back around to, because again, I'm just that gnat, just floating around out there. What I'm trying to get to is, what do you define as greatness? What do you define as great? Is it your car? Don't start with me. She knows I'm a car guy. I love cars, and that's why I keep reverting back to it. And my wife knows I like to look at cars. I have what's called, yeah, okay, you call it ADD, but I have AAAD, automotive attention, AADD, automotive attention deficit disorder. Because if it's car or vehicle related, I'm all in. I mean, if it drives by in the street, I'm supposed to be mowing the yard. If I hear a car go by the street, hey, there's a 68 Chevelle. You see that? Jason, mow the yard. Oh, yeah. I'll be right there. Zigzags all through the yard. It won't even look right. But anyway, that's just me. That's who I am. But anyway, what do you define as great? The amount of times and the ways that God's ministered to you, the way He's touched your life, the way He's healed you from things? Or do you define it as what you're blessed with to have? And I don't want anybody to base their faith on material things, but you base it on. I base it on the blessings that I've been given by God, and thankful for that. I'm thankful for things like the house we live in, for my wife, for, yes, the vehicles we have. I mean, bar none, we're here. And rightfully, we could have walked. We're just lazy. But we, I mean, when you think about it, we're like 4 or 5 blocks from there. But anyway, I consider myself blessed by the way He's touched my life. He's ministered to my life. He's saved my life, spiritually and physically. He's blessed me with a beautiful wife who knows a lot more than I do. She's an incredibly smart woman. She's one of the greatest blessings I have in my life. I love her dearly. But you cannot put a price tag on what God's done for you and how God ministers to you and how He touches you. Because every person in here, regardless if you're blood related or not, every person in here needs a touch in some certain way, some special way. And every one of them is different. He can touch your bank account. He can touch your house. He can fix the roof on your house. He can minister you financially, physically. So what do you find as greatness? Is it the greatness the world sees? Is it the greatness of the trophies? Is it the greatness of what you have in your house? Dean Wolf, the number of guns you have. I'm picking on Dean. Dan, number of cars you got. What do you find as great? What is your idea of greatness? The greatness that saves lives, or the greatness that ain't gonna matter to nothing? Because everything material here in this world don't mean nothing. It don't mean a thing. This church, I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. Let me make this specific so everybody understands. This church is just a building. It's just a building. It'll be here long after we're all gone. When the Lord comes back and calls us all home, this building's still going to be here. We, the church, will not. Period. This is 4 walls with a roof over it. We are the church. We make up the church. When the Lord comes back and calls the church home, We ain't going to have to worry about this no more. We ain't going to have to worry about if we got enough gas in the car to get to church or what kind of cars we even have. None of that stuff matters. It don't make a hill of beans because that's not what's important. What's important is the relationship that we have with the Lord is what makes us special. It's what makes us stand out because we're called to stand out. The Lord calls us to stand out from the crowd because we're not designed like the rest. We're not designed. We're a called people. We're supposed to stand out and be different. People will ask, hey, why are you so different? Well, first off, I'm just an odd duck. But mainly, most importantly, is because I'm a child of God. I'm called to be different. I'm supposed to be different. Yeah, I thought there was something different about you. That would be what it is. Billy Kolb, I know there's something different about you. I pick you out of a crowd a mile away. But it's just a matter of what. It's a matter of greatness. Not worldly greatness, but godly greatness. And what God wants is everybody to live for Him, surrender your life for Him. Well, what's it cost? I bet it costs to join a member of that church country club that you all go to. It don't cost nothing. Come as you are. Don't worry about your piercings. Don't worry about your tattoos, because the Bible says, come as you are. It don't matter whether you're ugly as I am or got, well, everybody in here except for Billy's got more hair than I do, but it don't matter how short or how tall you are. It don't matter what you look like. It don't matter what your past is. Your past is irrelevant. All your past did was get you to the door. That's where it stops. You pray to forgive your past, the mistakes of your past, it's gone. It's done. You can't go back. You can't change it. You live from here forward. And that's what we're all called to do. We live from here forward. You know, dear God, forgive me for what I did before, but bless me from here forward. So, Virgil, if you're going to come up here, that's about all I've got. Otherwise, Virgil, if you don't come up here and take this microphone, I'm just going to keep talking in circles. It's not that I'm running out of stuff to talk about. I'll talk for hours. And as you all know, that's hereditary too. As we can all testify, we can all witness. You know, and it's funny. And we'll go. Billy says I take after my mom. Yeah, right. You get these looks from my mom? No? If that's what you got out of it, whew, I ought to pray for you right now. Why? Because she's going to get here. She's going to lay hands on you. And not the affectionate type. I do want to tell one story on my parents, and I'm going to hear about it later, I know, but it's so worth it. My parents, growing up, people ask me, you know, and I've been told before by other members of the youth group and other youth sponsors and stuff that I've worked with over the years, they're like, why don't you do stand-up? Why don't you do stand-up? You're like a natural. You'd be so good at it. You know, you're funny, you're quick-witted, stuff like that. Reason A, I love my wife. I love being married to my wife. There's a fine line in there you just don't cross. And a lot of my stories have my wife involved. I love my wife. I love having a house to go home to. No. But anyway, a quick story. I got to tell you this about my parents. And the only reason I can get by with this is because they're not here yet, and I got to get done quick before they get here. My parents, I've been a stronghold, a godly stronghold forever. I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I want to say about 11 years old when I started going to church. Before then, I didn't know. I mean, you pass by a church, you see it. You know, that's a church. That's a church. You know, there's a church there. And at school, you know, I'd hear friends say, oh, we went to church on Sunday. And I'm like, what is this? And I really had no clue what a church was. Never been in one until we started going. I learned real quick, nothing's funny in church. A lot of you heard me say this before. At the time, nothing was funny in church. Don't crack jokes. Don't smirk. Don't smile. Don't nothing. Sit there and hush. You make the mistake of cracking a joke in church, and joking in church, as I was told, instructed, not appropriate. It is not appropriate. Ground rule, don't do it. I made a mistake of cracking a joke during youth service. somehow it got back around to mom and dad. We lived 22 miles from church to home, which that night felt like 88 miles. The longest ride home, and I was like 12 years old at this time. So the whole ride home, and we always knew when Dad was upset because he was silent. Believe it or not, folks, he is quiet. He can get quiet. If he's quiet, us kids just knew. Don't say nothing. Don't even breathe. Don't say nothing. So we sit back there, and I'm back there, and I'm. It was the first time I actually remember praying for rapture. 12 years old, I'm in the back seat of that minivan praying, Jesus, come quickly. I know I haven't known you all that long, but please come quickly. Please come quickly before I get home, because once I get home, it ain't going to be good. But anyway, back to what I was saying. My parents have been, like I said, I could not have prayed for better parents. They've always been side by side in everything. They've always instructed us and guided us in the right direction. And the direction was always to the cross. You got problems with something, you need prayer for it. Take it to the cross, take it to the altar. Leave it at the feet of Jesus. Because he knows what's going on. He already knows what's going on. You just got to ask him to help you with it, to guide you through it. Many years ago, it's been better than 20 years ago now, because I've always been a gearhead, I had a souped up, really fast IROC Z Camaro. Bright red, T-tops, whole 9 yards. I loved that car. Anyway, and my dad, he probably wouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to, because he's not here. He had, back in the day, a 67 Camaro, souped up, 283, 3 on the floor, hot rod. That's why I inherited this. All this, not only physically appearance, I inherited all this. It's like in my blood and DNA. Anyway, he had a hopped up Camaro, and he would go to Mocan Dragway in Asbury, Missouri, and he would go up there with some of his buddies, and they drag race and stuff on the track. Anyway, I called Mom and Dad one night. Hey, I'm up at Mocan running the car, stuff like that. Well, they pull in, and I'd already made a couple passes and stuff, and Dad's looking at my time slips and stuff. And this was the most divided. Divided is a strong word. They didn't see eye to eye. Let's just put it that way. Because standing side by side, Mom's standing here, Dad's standing here. Dad's looking through my time slips, and Mom doing the typical mom thing. I can't believe you're going out here running that fast. No helmet in the car, not even a roll cage in it. You're going that fast. You could slip out of gear or lose control, crash into the wall, just thinking the worst, just beside herself. And Dad's right beside her at the exact same time going, I think if we lowered your air pressure in your rear tires just a little bit harder, and you rev the car just a little bit closer to the red line when you launched off the line, you probably get down the track a whole lot faster. I've never been more confused in all my life. Do I listen to Mom and, slow down or just take the car home? Or Dad's over there like, oh, yeah, you can do it. Just try it this time. Stall it up just a little bit harder and leave that line just a little bit faster. You'll get a better fast time. You get a faster time on the end of the track. It was the most divided I'd ever seen him. I've never seen that divided since. But again, it spun me into a realm of, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I was coming or going. That's the most adverse I'd ever seen the two. But long story short, what I was getting to was my parents, God love them, have been a godly couple. I couldn't have asked for better parents. They've led me and pointed me in the right direction, which, like I said before, has always been toward the cross. It didn't matter if we had troubles in school, and I had a lot of physical problems and stuff growing up as a child, being brittle diabetic and stuff like that. And most people, even with that, would have said, hey, you shouldn't be, there's certain sports and stuff you shouldn't play, because of that. My parents were all in. There's no different. There's no such thing. You can't do anything any different than anybody else can do. You're no different. I mean, mind you, I was a little shorter than everybody else. Other than that, I was perfectly happy. And Mom and Dad did their absolute best and everything and supported us 100%. And like I said, I couldn't have asked for better parents. I was so blessed with them. and they've been a blessing to me. I'm running out of ways to fluff the pillow here, Virgil. But anyway, the point is, again, make another lap. What I'm getting at is, what do you find is greatness? Is the greatness of what's happened in your life that made you who you are? The greatness that has touched you and guided you through life? The numerous touches and blessings that he's given to your life? And then knowing the fact that he wakes you up in the morning, you've got another day here on this earth to prove to the rest of the world how great God is and what he can do for not only you, what he's already done for you and continues to do for you, what he can do for them. That's all I've got for you. Otherwise, I'm going to run this battery dead, this microphone.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us into the broadcast this morning. I know when you can't get to church, it's great to be able to tune in and get the word inside you. That's what God uses to transform us and change us. Here at Coffeyville, we believe in something called the place where we all meet with God, the place where we prepare for this generation and the next generation. God has a great calling on this body called Coffeyville First Assembly of God in Coffeyville, Kansas. And we know that he loves you and has a plan for your life. Maybe it's time for you to think about becoming part of the place.